Is Airbnb a threat to the established hotel industry?
I would not position them as a threat. There are players within our market, even though they're not really direct players because they only offer an online platform. We are we offering accommodation. They don't. They just list companies in their database to be able to offer accommodation. So I would not really call them a threat at this point, but they are a growing player that we need to be looking at in detail in terms of how are they playing and is within the rules of the game. Yeah,
so I understand you. So in other words, they may well not be a direct threat, but they are in the industry and playing a role, and that role needs to be understood.
Absolutely.
Now, when you look at what they are providing, would it be fair to say they are complementing the industry, and therefore, in a sense, it's a good addition to competition within the sector?
Airbnb needs to continue being in the space, and there is no question from our side. They do offer great alternatives, especially in the outlying areas where there isn't much big hotel space, where sort of like almost homestays provide an alternative. All that we're saying there is, if you are going to be offering that kind of business, then be a registered business.
Absolutely.
Then have all the regulation in place for you to be compliant in relation to health and safety. And, you know, all the laws that apply to our members
should also apply to you.
Absolutely.
All right. Unathi is on the line now and available to chat to us. Unathi, so I want also to put to you the question that I put to Lee here in the studio, whether you see Airbnb as a threat to the established hotel industry here in South Africa.
I believe Airbnb is partially a threat, but I think it has done more to activate a new market that is looking for cheaper accommodation as an alternative to the hotel industry. So I believe it has woken up the beat of domestic tourism, which has been declining. That's why in the past 3 years, we find that tourism accommodation numbers have been going down because people are choosing an alternative. And unfortunately, the hotels, instead of adapting, they're the ones calling for regulation against Airbnb. So this, instead of this being a wake-up call for the entire hotel industry, they are just going back into the lager of trying to defend themselves against the great mighty power of Airbnb.
Yeah. But Unathi, what would be wrong with regulating Airbnb? Because as Lee says, if you are operating within the sector where there are rules and regulations that apply to people who are already in there, you should also be regulated by those same rules.
I partially agree. We do require regulation, but I'm just scared if the regulations are captured by the singular interest of the PBCSA and Federated. My issue is that I don't want the Amendment Act to be captured by them and only reflect their interests. Even though this is open for public comment, but some of the amendments proposed within the Amendment Act obviously make one to be worried. But because obviously South Africa is an open democracy, we will engage, we will differ, and we'll find each other on what is the best fit to ensure that Airbnb is regulated, but the regulations are not in such a way that they destroy the business of Airbnb. And also the hotels also are protected partially, and all the statutory requirements Airbnb should meet.
Yeah, you get the gist of his argument. In essence, it's providing good competition, and in essence, what you guys are seeking in the amendment of the law that's being debated now is actually to protect your own business interests.
Protection, it's narrowly not a top in our mind in this respect. Airbnb themselves, they actually are saying they're welcoming regulation. So we have members from the group hotels, which are very large group, to small guest houses. So Airbnb, a business, it obviously will be affecting quite a lot of the small businesses if we're following his argument in this case. But the reality is that Airbnb, we're always saying they need to just be regulated like everybody else. The establishments within Airbnb have to be compliant in terms of short-term accommodation rental in South Africa. There are laws. So if you're going to be playing in that space, you have to have those laws applicable to you. And we requesting that Airbnb become a good corporate citizen.
Right.
There are laws
Does
in
it
your
pay
space.
tax at the moment?
Who?
Airbnb?
In South Africa?
Yeah.
I'm not sure about the detail in terms of them paying taxes, but we know some of their members are not even registered businesses, which means in terms of revenue services, they will not be within the space
If I
to be
understand
collected.
correctly, I think I had a friend who engaged Airbnb, and she was paying tax, obviously, on a portion of the revenue that was accruing to the business that she was doing with Airbnb. But what I didn't know and what I still don't understand is whether Airbnb then pays tax on its portion of that revenue.
Well, with them registered in South Africa to operate, they should be declaring that income within South African space. That I would actually need to be appraised better.
Okay.
But the key for us is that the establishments that are registered with Airbnb should be registered businesses, because if they're not registered businesses, therefore their revenue will not be accounted for in the South African system.
Okay.
Because
I'm going to come back to you and ask you about what you're specifically looking for in the amendments. Unathi, do you have any greater understanding on what we're talking about, the issue of tax on Airbnb and these other over-the-top companies that are coming into the country because of this internet revolution?
Yes, I find a lot of these companies sometimes do not pay tax, obviously, which is wrong in the South African context. And I believe that as part of the regulation they're proposing, we obviously want these companies to obviously pay tax and become responsible corporate citizens and also comply with the statutory requirements for operating a business. But on the flip side, let's also indicate that some of the membership of FedHasa, like a lot of guest houses, are also double dipping. They operate as guest houses, but also are listed on the Airbnb platform. So we must also be cautious and not think that the membership of FedHasa and also TVCSA are not double dipping on Airbnb. They are.
Absolutely. Very quickly, in terms of your input and the changes that you seek?
Well, we are studying the bill. It has just come out, and we'll be posting our, submitting our report on it soon. So in terms of what we're going to be detailing at this point in time, I think it's too early to say.
Absolutely.